Hey gaming fans! So today I thought I would do a commentary for this duel that I did on Duelingbook. It's my skill drain deck versus a zombie deck that in the GOAT format. And I thought I'd do a commentary on this one because some pretty interesting plays happened. And I thought I'd like to kind of explain it and just talk about what was going on in this duel. So as you see, I started off with applying some pressure with the Goblin attack force. Even though I had a Mystical Space Typhoon in my hand, I figured, let's bait it out, see what that is, and then just save the, MST for when I needed it. And of course, it would have been a bad idea because he ended up with goats, and I would have wasted my MST. So now he's stealing my Goblin attack force. And at first I thought he was going to attempt to put it into attack mode, which I don't think you can because he's stuck in defense mode until the end of my next turn. But he ended up tributing it off anyways for Vampire Lord, which I was okay with. I can deal with Vampire Lord in this deck because, things like this card, Goblin Attack Force. I had to read the Vampire Lord again because I couldn't remember if his effect came off from effect damage or from being destroyed by an effect or battle, and it's just effect. So I was like, fine, alright, let's run him over. And of course he delinquent dueled me, so I lost by cards, but I have 3 back rows, so I was okay. Yeah, so pretty much any monster he summons will kill my attack force. And I decided to use my interdimensional matter transporter on my Goblin attack force, and I was wondering if that was a big mistake or not, and if I wasted it, but turned out, it was probably a good idea, just to help get rid of some stuff. He does have the 2 goats sitting there, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to actually attack it, because my Goblin Orc will go in, my Giant Orc will go into defense mode. So I was just like, maybe I'll just leave them there because, other than creature swap, they're not going to do anything. So he MST's my new card, my fake trap, but that's fine. I didn't really need it. I think I still have 1 face down. And Tribe Infecting Virus. And so this whole time I'm hoping for my skill drain, just because skill drain would stop that tribe, but I ended up getting a monster to take him out anyway, so no big deal. These were the guys I was worried about the most, because they get around skill drain, the Pyramid Turtles, and they would pull out his Ryokoki or Vampire Lord, so I had to be smart with those guys. Now this was interesting because he played Premature Burial, targeting the Vampire Lord, and he didn't give me time to respond, so he immediately summoned it to the field, and then I MST'd. And then he thought he was going to get his Vampire Lord back because he got destroyed by an card effect. So I had to correct him and say, no, I chained to your Burial, your foolish, so it just never, your Premature Burial, so it just never came to the field. And he was okay with that. I was worried that I was going to have to sit there and explain that to him, but he figured it out, and so we moved on. So now I'm just kind of defending myself with the Book of Moon, just out of desperation here, because I'm only down, I got 2 cards here, and nothing in hand. This skill drain deck is an interesting deck. It's sometimes scary when you're top decking, because you don't know what you're going to get, and there's not a lot of, there's a few cards where you just don't want to top deck, depending on what you have on the field. Like skill drain, if you don't have any monsters. It becomes a hindrance. So I'm not just taking apart his field now at this point. There's not much more I can do. Again, I'm hoping for my skill drain because it would make my Fusular Dragon, which is currently at 1400 attack, it would turn it into a 2800 attacker. And of course he gets his Thousand Eyes Restrict out, and there wasn't much I could do at that point, so I conceded it. It's like I lost. So now we're on to game 2, and I was quite satisfied with this hand. I mean, I didn't want to set too much because, Heavy Storm is a thing, so I just held on to what I had. And course, he's Tsukiyumi'd. And this part, I Book of Moon is Tsukiyumi, and then he said Prio, which means he had priority to activate the effect, which I knew. I just wanted to make sure that the Book of Moon got that guy face down, because he becomes trouble if I don't get rid of Tsukiyumi. I've gotten into lots of trouble with that card before, where they've stole my flip effect monster and just kept flipping him face up and down. And of course that wasn't in this deck. I don't play flip effect monsters in this deck. So that was just a little miscommunication there. I didn't realize he flipped my card down with Tsukiyumi, so he told me that it goes face down, and I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And so I flipped his card face down. Now, this is an interesting event here, where I attack with my newly flipped Zombra the Dark, and he believes that my Zombra the Dark should be at 19 because I attacked. But that's not the case, because I flipped him up from being face down, so his effect got reset. And I told him that, and he thought I meant I'm replaying the attack, which I'm not. I'm actually telling him he's at full power at 21, where he believed that my guy was at 19. But eventually he figured it out, or he gave up arguing. I don't know what happened there, but I was trying to tell him, what do you mean? Like, he's 2100, under skill drain, or sorry, under being flipped face up, I should say. So again, with the Scapegoats. Now, I do have a card that can combat against Scapegoat, which is Final Attack Orders. So I was really hoping I would draw that at some point, because that really makes a mess of their goats. He attacked me with his DD Warrior Lady. I was waiting to see if he was going to banish, but he didn't, so that's okay. But I knew he would banish at this point, because why not? So I just attacked him. Who cares? And then at this point I realized he's just hiding behind his goats, so I gotta start getting rid of them. Or else he's going to start drawing too many cards, and I'm going to have nothing to play. So again, I thought, let's apply some more pressure. Let's just keep going after these goats. And he had a Sakuratsu armor, which was like, okay, what am I going to do? And then he had a Book of Moon. I don't know why he's protecting his goats so badly. I guess he was hoping to get another creature swap. I think he might have played one already. Again, I'm just going after those goat tokens. It's kind of a shame when I don't have my skill drain, because I'm constantly going into defense mode with these guys just to kill a token. But he decided he would rather waste his Sakuratsu armor on him. I don't know why he did that. That was kind of foolish, but I guess he just figured he got to get rid of it somehow. But I would have attacked a goat, and then I would have been in defense mode. He could have taken me out easily. But I guess he chose not to. So there I got rid of a good well-timed Ring of Destruction, which would have caused a lot of problems well, I guess it would have caused a problem for both of us, but in the end it just worked out. So here's where I brought my my Fusilier at full power, and I didn't use my Call of the Haunted, because I wanted to wait what he would pull out. And of course he pulled out Ryokoki, so I knew, now I can Call of the Haunted my other monster, so the second Fusilier, to take him out. Because if I would have called first and brought Fusilier and the other, the other two Fusiliers together, he would have probably went in from one Pyramid Turtle to another Pyramid Turtle. So I wanted to make sure that he pulled out his big guy so I could take that out and get rid of the Pyramid Turtles. And so he enemy controllered a goat and stole my Fusilier to attack into the other Fusilier, which was a pretty smart idea, just to get rid of them. But I'm still holding strong here with the DD Assailant, which is good. And he actually thought, I think he started to believe that DD Assailant was the same as DD Warrior Lady, because he was asking if I'm going to banish the Sangan. But I told him that this is not DD Warrior Lady, so DD Assailant, his effect only goes off when he's destroyed by battle himself. Whereas DD Warrior Lady, you just have to attack a monster and then you can banish it. So I think he got confused on both of the two monsters, but that's okay. He figured it out. He had a well-timed Book of Life there to bring out his Ryokoke, which I was able to deal with anyways. So I also play Exiled Force. And the reason why I play Exiled Force is because even with Skill Drain on the field, you can still activate the effect because he tributes himself and then he activates it off the field. So Skill Drain doesn't affect him. Now this was interesting. I don't know why he put Spirit Reaper in attack mode and attacked me. I had no cards in my hand and he got no advantage out of that. And he left himself wide open for an attack. So now I finally drew my Skill Drain, which is good. And well-timed Skill Drain. And I had a fake trap to deal with that heavy storm. But the well-timed Skill Drain, because I'm able to actually now get around that Spirit Reaper, because when I first saw the Spirit Reaper, I thought, you know, how am I going to get around that? But Final Attack Orders and Skill Drain would both help. So all I needed was one of those cards, which I luckily had. And now my Zombra the Dark, he loses that counter that brought him down to 1900 because he's under Skill Drain, and my Giant Orc. So here I attack, and then he gives me some question marks, like why am I attacking a Spirit Reaper, and I had to remind him that there's Skill Drain on the board, and he's like, oh. And then I attack with my Giant Orc, which stays into attack mode, because I don't have to worry about his effect. So then that was game 2, so now we went into game 3. I can sense he's probably starting to get annoyed by this deck, or by me constantly telling him he's, you know, the mistakes. So this time I just throw that guy out at it. I'm like, I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to run into a turtle because he'll get what he wants. And then he Exile Forces. Again, I used the Interdimensional Matter Transporter. At this point I thought I really made a mistake because I have Fusilier in my hand. And I would rather use it on Fusilier Dragon than on the Giant Orc. But I decided in the end just to keep him. And I blew away Soul Release, which I guess he sided in, thinking that I utilize my graveyard a lot. But in reality, I don't. I mean, I play Premature Burial and Call of the Haunted. But that's only 2 cards. I think the rest of my deck, I don't really care about my graveyard. So he side decked thinking that I use my graveyard more than I really do. That was just a misclick on my behalf. I meant to change sides. That's the thing about Duelingbook. It's all manual, so it's easy to misclick and do something wrong. So I instead put it on the top of my deck, so I had to put them back onto the field. And that's the other thing with Duelingbook as well. Like, a lot of the arguments over rules will happen because it's all manual, and you have to have your own knowledge of the rules. And you can run into arguments where people think a card works one way, but it really doesn't. You know, in this duel, I don't think it really happened. I mean, there was that one time where, you know, one or 2 times where I kind of had to explain something, but now he also misclicked there, where he sent the goat over my side of the field, but I knew that meant he had a creature swap, and so bye-bye Fusilier, and he metamorphoses it into King Dragoon or whatever it is. And I knew that was going to happen. I'm like, okay. I think he probably has that in his fusion deck just in case he does steal something like a Fusilier Dragon. And so here was an interesting card that I drew. It was Deck Devastation Virus. Because I had my Premature Burial, so I knew if I pulled out my Fusilier Dragon at full power, I can run over that dragon, and then if he tries to do anything crazy, I could just activate the Deck Devastation Virus, tribute the Fusilier. And so here is where I decided to do that, because I knew I would wipe out his field and possibly his hand at the same time. And he just did his normal summon, so I'm not too worried, unless he's playing Chaos in this deck, but I don't think he is. And he did have one monster. He had the DD Warrior Lady, and I had to tell him you also lose your field too. So all his tokens and the Tsukiyumi. So that was a really good play there for me. And then he played Soul Release again. Not a big deal. this deck is more aggressive. It doesn't work too much with the graveyard. And I got out a nice DD Assailant there, which was cool. And he just put a face down. So now it's just a race to see if I could beat him down faster before he could draw any outs to my cards. And that's another thing. Deck Devastation Virus, it's just like the Crush Card Virus. For the 3 of his turns, he has to reveal the card he draws. And if it's a monster of 1500 or less, he has to discard it. Which he does the first time. Like, I tell him to reveal the card, so he did. And I knew it was a Goats. Now here's where I made a mistake. I actually made 2 mistakes. And then he gets a little saucy with me and says, "Read your card, dude." No, my mistake was I was supposed to attack with DD Assailant first, wait for him to activate the Goats, then chain the final attack orders, so that all the Goats would go into attack mode. And because I didn't do that, he knew I had it there. He just didn't activate his Goats, and I wasn't able to attack with Zombra the Dark because he can only attack a monster. And that's where he's like, "Read your card, dude." I think he was frustrated with me at this point. And so he gave me a little bit of sauce, but that's okay. And then I said, "Sorry, whoops, I moved too fast there." And that was it. That was the duel. So yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun. It's definitely one of the challenges when you're playing with Dueling Book, is that you have to, you have to know the rules, and it's not automated. But other than that, it was a pretty good duel. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.